Paolo Pellegrini. Benvenuti nella giungla dei graffiti. Questo è Impostore Rockstar. It's a podcast. Taking a break on that for a little bit. Kind of sort of maybe just something just a little different just for a while. Okay. Alright. Benvenuti nella giungla dei graffiti. Questo è Impostore Rockstar. Great Rockstar Chat Show. Sono il tuo capo e sono Chief Gihareh, Julius Caesar Augustus K. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so we're gonna do a recap, reaction in time. Got it in time, yeah. We're gonna do a thank you for having your notifications turned on and tapping in, tuning in. And so we're gonna do a recap, reaction, summary review, Samurai Champloo, episode 6. Now, the way that this one starts off, like like usually they'll have like whether it's fact or not. Now, again, in the first episode, things being fact, that's up in the air for debate. You know what I'm saying? But it's like it's not for that. They was talking about, yeah. So this one was just there was a couple of things I'm like, oh, there are a couple elements to the show and like things that generally happen. This one, food doesn't get kidnapped this time. You know what I'm saying? Food doesn't get kidnapped. And they don't split up. So every episode up until I mean outside of one in a sense, but in this one, it was food gets kidnapped, they split up, and they got to fight for some over food somehow, some way. Food's involved in fighting over food. That still happens. It's like that. That's the thing. It's a thing, right? She's a woman, and it's a man's world type of thing. Um, so this one, they started off with a little random tidbit of some 400th anniversary. That was like that has nothing to do with the show, but let's get into this, whatever. So it does that little thing. Now, the way that this episode starts off, this one, it was like, yo. Oh, the what I was going to say was, so uh, yeah, that I can. It's like a meme of the show. It's like it kind of that's just it's like you kind of already understand that, right? So this one, it starts off. There's these guys with like buckets over their head. They pop up and throughout the show. That was one thing. However, in this one, oh, the one thing I was trying to mention is that now sometimes you can think like, oh, this is just made up and this, that, and the third, boom, boom, boom. I'm not sure how in depth or well played is with this one, but for instance, Pokemon, whenever Pokemon has like an actual map and this, that, and the third, they will generally be based off of like a real place setting. So, and like the thing, like with Pokemon, they like some of those maps and settings, they're actually based off of an actual like country, township, whatever. And so Pokemon is really in depth with that. And I just remember there was this one guy, he he wanted to figure out how old is Ash Ketchum, right? And like that would be an actual question. How old is Ash Ketchum? So this one guy, he does that. And as he goes to trying to figure out, well, how old is Ash Ketchum, he has to try to figure out just from watching all the episodes, when is the season changing and when will happen to be marking of a new year. And so it's one of those, it was like so Pokemon was so in depth with certain things that it was he could watch a show and say, well, these fruit are in bloom or ripe around this time, and it would be just because the characters are eating this fruit or something like that, he could know what type of time frame it was. Like Pokemon was so in depth with that, like as far as like time really moving and where they're at and stuff like that. And so the reason I mentioned with the map, and so thank you for the Endo period map, is because it was now I said this on a prior episode recap, I was like, bro, I don't know where they're going, and they just seem to just be heading somewhere kind of sort of randomish, like whatever. So it was one thing that in the beginning of this episode, they actually showed how they've been moving in their map. So the beginning of the episode says, our characters, Mugen, Jin, and Fu, have been traveling, this and the third. So they actually show their progress of like, okay, they stopped here, they were here, and now they're in Edo, right? Now, now that they're in Edo, they're like, again, they get hungry, right? They get hungry, and so they're like, bro, we're here, and they have like a eating contest. So, mind you, all right, it's just, we're gonna keep things, of a whatchamacallit, but Cardi B did say, no man will forget his favorite eater. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, they have an eating contest. They have an eating contest. And so they're like, eating contest? We always hungry. And they're like, we always hungry. So that was the thing, right? Right? They're like, oh, we just got the Edo. They're giving out free food and it's all you can eat. So they happy, they hype, right? Like, so boom. So mind you, you sitting there thinking like, okay, they should be kind of sort of good. They always hungry and they need food. And it's like, soon they get to the table, they're like, yeah, you gotta pay like a registration fee. And it was like, we don't have any money. You said this was free and this and that third, right? So that's their first thing. It was like, well, we can find some equal value. So you just giving some of the rewatches was hilarious. Doesn't add too much. Off of it. Yeah, okay. Um, and so they're like, we can find some equal value. Now, usually at this time and day and age, it is well, usually when somebody says we can find something of equal value, and there's a woman, it be those type of whatchamacallits usually, right? So, but they're like, they give up their swords. So Mugen Jin, and they give up their swords, and they're like, all right, if we win, you get it all back, right? So let's start here. Let me see. Let's start here. I did. Okay. This is episode 6. This is episode 6. I just caught this one. Um, so, oh yes, humans did not get to the top of the food chain to eat salad. To hell with vegetarianism, right? I relate to that. I was okay with that. So it's an eating contest. So here they are. It's like in a row, right? Now, I've never actually been to an eating contest. So it's one of those, but it's one of those things like it happens. Where, for what's I don't know, right? We've been to a buffet. We've been to buffets and stuff like that, but this is one of those. It's an eating contest and whatever, right? So those are things, right? Okay, everyone, now underway, right? So you see them all lined up. Boom. First one to tap out, bro, is Gene. Gene is respectable on some. This right here. So if you do this, this is the sign to I'm done, I'm out, right? So first one, Gene, I'm out. I'm not. This is ridiculous. This is embarrassing. And so now at this point, Gene is looking at Mugen like, bro, you can't quit. You better not quit. My swords are on the line. You cannot. Right? Who passes out next? Mugen. Mugen. Right? So everybody is like, so that's how it kind of goes. You put your hand up or you say you want more. And so that's one of the things. More. And then, but if you do this, you're out. So people are just passing out, right? People are just passing out. Next thing we know, Mugen is out. So Gina's like, are you serious, bro? Bruh. And so Mugen is out. Mugen's out. He's like, yo. But it was a little. It's again like this is it's a beautifully animated episode, and if you just kind of ever just kind of look at life and just certain things, like they capture, you know, um, yeah, hey, we will come back to that, but yeah, it. I think the stuff like that was funny. I think stuff like that was funny. The but It's the what you would call this. Um, so there's a couple people here, right? And one of the things is with AI, some people like get this AI slop out of here, right? And then some people are just saying like, oh, this is so disrespectful and so whatever, right? And so it's like, it's just lighten up, have a sense of humor. But one of the things was, you used to say it was slop, and so there's apparently it would be worth looking at. And there's a video, and it's like Will Smith eating spaghetti, right? There's Will Smith eating spaghetti, and that video it's AI and it looks terrible, right? And then so it's like now when you see certain things, it's like it's not bad, and then some kind of eats. Not gonna lie, some of the stuff is like, and then it was you got. I think it was a video. I kind of put them all together. It was Malcolm X and Martin Luther King eating seafood, having a seafood boil. So, I mean, some of the stuff is just on some stuff like, bro, like if they lived during this time now, could they be on a vlog? And so that's what the Tupac jump was. It's like if Tupac had a vlog, and Tupac and Biggie and maybe they probably would have squashed their beef. We see a lot of people squashing beef and then make a song together. Um, and like some of the Jones is like one of the thought I thought was just like a little cool thing was like they had Biggie say, "You still smiling like you own the block." It was stuff like that. So it was, and yes, it's like those people aren't here to really, for us to see what they would have done with life and going forward. But Kobe and Tupac having a race, and Tupac and Big. If Tupac had a vlog, it was those type of things. But let's get back to the show. Let's get back to the show. Mugen passes out. Mugen passes out. All right. So who is left? Right? Who's left? Gene Ben gave up. Didn't even get to that point of like being super full. Mugen, he was trying. Oh, but the reason I was talking about it being beautifully animated, it was like if you ever just sat and just kind of like looked at the sun, or anything like that, they just kind of captured like Mugen was like he looks up at the sky and at the sun, and he just passes out. And so he just goes here. Let me see what the next one is. But we have one, right? We have one, and so it gets down to a point where last year's winner goes out. They was like, we got three. It was last year's winner. There was another one that was like, yeah, but she does sweets. I'm not sure if she's gonna be able to do this one. They got these so right now it's rice bowls and like eels, right? So rice bowls and eels. And last year, whatchamacallit, he goes down. This is him going down. The other lady, she usually her realm is sweets. She goes down. It was like, oh, but there's another one. And so it comes down to the last two. Now, Fu and another guy. But the other guy has like this hat on his head. So it's like, we don't know who this mysterious person is, but there are two newcomers. And so one is Fu, and the other one is this mysterious person. And so Fu, this is how, and now if you just know the show and this and the third, all right, it's like, because mind you, Gene and Mugen, mind you, they put up their swords, and if they won, they're gonna get their stuff back. It's up to her to get their stuff back, and she's doing really well until a fly comes across her face. And so they show it, it's a little bit of foreshadowing. They show a fly, but it went past her a couple of times, and then this time she was like, fly, and but she makes the symbol. So she catches the fly, but she makes the symbol, and they're like, oh, she's out. She's out. She gave up. And she was like, no, what? So they end up losing their stuff. And the newcomer, what he ends up doing, he had a hat on his head. He throws off his hat. And then afterwards, he goes up to them. Let me see what my next one is. I'll get to it. So he goes up to them, and he's like, hey, you guys, such and such, da da da. Whatever the little conversation is, it was like, bro, is he talking weird? And it was like, yeah, he does sound a little weird. Does he have red hair? It's like, yeah. And blue eyes? So they were like, he's European, right? He's European. So one of the things is this mysterious guy, is like, yeah, I'm new here and this and the third. Could you possibly show me around? So Gene is like, yeah, we know all about this time. They're like, bro, we don't, because Mugen was about to throw it off like, nah, too bad. SOL. What's that? I'm trying to figure out. We don't know nothing about this and the third, but Gene's like, bruh, we'll show you around and you gotta give her our stuff back. You know what I'm saying? So he has their stuff, but he agrees to give them their stuff back after they give him a tour, right? So he's being a tourist and he's seeing certain things, and they're not doing their good job as a tour guide. But then again, they don't really. They're just trying to get their stuff back, and so because he's like naming, he's like, "Oh, is this?" And they're like, "No," but never mind. They're just like, just enjoy it. Just let him be. It's like he's just a tourist, and he's not gonna be too long. So they just let him do certain things. Now, the only other little part, like when it'll make you question, like, okay, well, when is the time period for real, and when are certain things actually do come into existence? But at some point, they're showing him different things, and one of the things that they see is fireworks. So they go see the fireworks. It's Disney World, fireworks and whatnot. Ladies and gentlemen, Samurai Champloo, Samurai Champloo. So they're just going to like different things, and then, but it gets to I'm not sure if a day passes or not. But while they're going through, looking throughout the town and stuff like that, people are looking for the European. They're like, we heard the European was here, right? So people are looking for this European, and they're just ritzing around, around town with them or whatever. Um, I'm not. I'm trying to see if a day had passed, or if it was just like they're just gonna continue. They were just continuing, but eventually they end up at a play, and so at the play, the Europeans like, all right, the European falls in love with one of the, like the main actresses or whatever. He's like, oh, so beautiful, and so they were like, he's like, I must meet her or doing whatever. So um, they go to the back. He and they're like, they go into the dressing room and whatnot, and where they gotta change, where the actors and actresses are, and then it's a wig, and it's like, oh, that's a man. Yeah, and then it takes a whatchamacallit, because then he's like, that's okay. This is what he says. I want to make sure he's like, that's okay. He, so then he has this little flashback. He's read a book. Um, there's that, and he was like, I just wanted to come to Japan and see if like, things were true, and how I could possibly live out this fantasy dream or whatever. So he does that. Um, Then finally, the people that were looking for the European finally run up to him. They catch him here. Um, Actually, I'm missing a part. So I'm not sure if a day did pass or if it's like, I'm not sure how this, because this is the second time. At some point, they do get food. And while they're eating, the people looking for the European show up. And then, of course, Mugen is like, yeah, Mugen is not gonna back down from a fight. So Mugen, Jean, Fu, they start fighting them, but then they run out. They hide, and then the whole play thing happens. Then they get to the play. Then there's the whole thing in the back part, and then the way that this whole thing kind of like wraps up is he tells this whole story that he read some book and he's from Holland, and yeah, and so on the stage, everybody runs on stage, and so some people are thinking like it's a part of the play, but Mugen Jin Fu and the European are on stage. The whatchamacallit, they surround them, and then these group of people say, "Hey, wait. Apparently, he's some high official, and he needs to meet with the shogunate, which I'm assuming is like the government type of thing, and the shogun." And so apparently he's supposed to be some high-ranking government official, and he's supposed to actually be on business. And they're like, "Yo, you can't be out here delaying." He's like, "Can I just stay?" And they're like, "No, you can't stay. You got to go have this meeting or whatever." So uh, that's how it kind of sort of wraps up. And then uh, what is it? Then at the end of the show was like, all right, he gives them back their stuff. Oh, because they had to get into this little skirmish with those people, they finally got caught again. he had gave them back Mugen and Jin their swords and stuff back. But at the end of the show, they go to part ways, and so Fu Mugen and Jin are like, all right, we're gone. You know what I'm saying? Fu wants to go back and ask him. She was like, "Have you heard of the samurai who smell sunflowers? That's what we're looking for. That's why we're here." And he was like, "I don't know nothing about that, but he says that they brought sunflowers to the Japanese area. His people brought sunflowers to the Japanese area. He says that, and then she was like, she pulls, she has something. This is the first time she ever shows that she has something of the samurai who sell. It's like, because we don't know who he is, and so now one of the other things is like, how did she meet the samurai who smells sunflowers? Why does she have something that belongs to him? And so this is the first time she shows it, and she's like, "Well, I have something that's his," and she shows it to the guy, and he was like, "Don't tell anybody about this," and I can't really tell you too much more, but he tells her that they should probably go towards Nagasaki, and so that's how episode 6 ends. That's how episode 6 ends. They should probably just go to Nagasaki. So, um, a couple of things that was like worth noting or showing in this and third. Again, like I say, some shows really, if they have like and like that's one of the what some shows will really, they actually do have a map and will show you like, okay, this was here and this was here. So this was the first episode that they actually showed a map and showed where the characters have been so far. That was a thing. And again, what happens all in between doesn't whatchamacallit, but the last little piece of what could move the story and the plot further, Fu showing that she has something that belongs to the samurai who smells sunflowers. So those are the two things that I kind of like noticed and took away from this one. And so we'll see what episode 7 we'll start to throw at and go from there. And so, trying to see, is there anything else I might have like missed or worth talking about? No, I think that pretty much covers all the bases. I think that pretty much covers all the bases. And so, if they're going to continue to do it, um, and I don't know, it's for instance, and the reason I'm saying this is because it came up in the beginning of this one. They said it was the 400th anniversary for something. I didn't really pay too much attention to it, right? But last episode, it talked about Van Gogh and if it's a history or a lore or whatever, you know, and how the validity of it, not sure, but they incorporated that into part of it. And so it's one of those, not sure. However, it could be one of those types of, and this is just for conversational purposes. For instance, that whole thing with Van Gogh and Van Gogh being inspired by this story. And like, if you grew up in Japan and learned of some type of history and learned some of their types of, word of mouth stories or any of that, right? And it, whether for whatever you studied, that could have been an actual story, you know what I'm saying, of how Van Gogh got inspired a little bit, you know? So I'm gonna look out for it because they started and ended the last one like that, and this one they had just threw that in the beginning, but it was like it has nothing to do with the episode, but and so it dropping those extra pieces of info, and that's where it would be up to the viewer to do more research and to actually figure out, if there's any validity to it or if it is just for the show or actual, you know, Japanese word of mouth lore type of thing. So I'll look for, so that because it'll be something I'll probably I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna pay attention to it, and on the next episode, and it usually happens at the beginning, and it's like a tidbit, and of that what it so what they say is it has nothing to do with the show, just watch. All right, so I'll look out for that on the next episode to see like, okay, what's their little added little tidbit of information type of thing. So this is my recap reaction review